Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a ride through one of the most incredible, hardworking networks on Earth, the human cardiovascular system. Think of it as the ultimate delivery service, a microscopic highway that keeps literally every single cell in your body alive, energized, and clean. We're going to break down exactly how this massive biological engine functions, step by step. Okay, let's dive right in. We'll start by zooming way down to the microscopic level to see what actually makes up a single drop of blood. From there, we'll zoom back out to look at the mechanical pump that drives it all and the vast systemic plumbing that makes sure this vital fluid reaches every corner of your body. To understand the whole system, we really have to start with the fluid itself. And here's the thing, blood isn't just some basic liquid. It's actually a highly specialized connective tissue. It cleanly divides into two main parts. You've got a pale yellow fluid called plasma, which makes up about 55% of the volume. The remaining 45%, those are the solid components, known as corpuscles. And these microscopic solid corpuscles are just continuously floating along within that fluid plasma environment. Now, what's completely wild about erythrocytes, which we all know as red blood cells, is how their form so perfectly follows their function. To get their unique biconcave shape, these cells actually ditch their nucleus entirely when they mature. It's a brilliant evolutionary trick. Losing the nucleus maximizes their surface area, which lets them pack in as much of the red pigment, hemoglobin, as possible. Because of this totally specialized shape, they're incredibly efficient at transporting oxygen to your cells and carrying carbon dioxide back to the lungs over their roughly 120-day lifespan. And the sheer numbers are staggering. We're talking 5 million of these in a single cubic millimeter of blood. But oxygen transport, that's just part of the story. Let's shift over to your nucleated defense system, the white blood cells, or leukocytes. Unlike the red blood cells, these guys do keep their nuclei, and they are your body's dedicated microscopic protectors. They're split into two main task forces. First, you have the granulocytes, like neutrophils. These are your rapid responders, the ones launching the immediate immune response. Then you've got the non-granulocytes, like lymphocytes, and they are absolutely crucial for long-term immunity and memory, making sure you stay protected against pathogens your body has fought off before. Rounding out the actual composition of our blood, we have the platelets and the plasma. Blood platelets are definitely unique. They're actually cell fragments, again, no nuclei here, and they carry a really vital substance called thromboplastin. You absolutely need thromboplastin for blood coagulation. Whenever you get a cut, these platelets immediately rush in to clot the wound and stop the bleeding. Meanwhile, the plasma is doing the heavy lifting as the body's major transit highway. It's transporting your fuel, like nutrients and amino acids. It's carrying away nitrogenous waste, like urea. And it's making sure ions and hormones get delivered exactly to their target organs. All right, moving on from the fluid, let's look at the pump itself. The human heart is just a staggeringly powerful muscular engine, and it's divided into 4 distinct chambers, the 2 upper atria and the 2 lower ventricles. You also have these essential gates, like the bicuspid and tricuspid valves, which guarantee that blood only ever flows in one direction. And you might notice that the muscular wall of the left ventricle is exceptionally thick. Well, it has to be heavily muscled, because that specific chamber is responsible for forcefully blasting blood out to your entire body, not just next door to the lungs. So, once the blood leaves that powerful heart, where exactly does it go? Well, let's break down the body's 3 main types of blood vessels. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Since they have to handle the direct, massive force of the heart's pump, they're built with thick, highly elastic walls. Veins, on the other hand, carry blood back towards the heart. They have thinner walls and larger internal spaces, or lumens, but crucially, they've got valves built right in to stop gravity from pulling the blood backwards. And finally, the capillaries. These are the microscopic connectors. Their walls are literally just 1 cell thick, which makes them the actual site where oxygen and nutrients pass into your tissues. So how does all this expansive plumbing loop back around? The human body relies on the sheer genius of double blood circulation. It's basically a continuous figure-8 track split into 2 distinct circuits. In the pulmonary circulation, oxygen-depleted blood gets pushed from the right ventricle straight to the lungs, picks up a fresh supply of oxygen, and heads back to the left atrium. Then, the systemic circulation takes over. That fresh, highly oxygenated blood gets launched out of the thick-walled left ventricle, travels to all your body organs, and eventually returns to the right atrium. Because of this dual setup, blood is actually passing through the heart twice for every single complete trip, which maximizes the system's efficiency. All of this incredible fluid movement is driven by a highly precise mechanical rhythm known as the cardiac cycle. Every single heartbeat you feel, That whole process happens in mere fractions of a second. First, there's a rapid 0.1-second diastole phase, where atrial contraction pushes blood down into the ventricles. That is immediately followed by a 0.3-second systole phase. That's the powerful ventricular contraction that pumps the blood completely out of the heart. Finally, you have a slightly longer 0.4-second intervening relaxation phase. Both the atria and the ventricles relax, so the heart can actively refill with blood before doing it all over again. And this precise mechanical pumping doesn't just happen on its own. It is coordinated by invisible electrical signals, which is exactly what an electrocardiogram, or ECG, measures. You can map these electrical waves directly to the physical actions happening in your cardiac muscle cells. That little bump at the beginning, the P wave, denotes the atrial contraction. Then you see that massive spike, the QRS complex. That's the powerful ventricular contraction pushing blood out. And finally, the T wave at the end marks the relaxation phase. It's literally the electrical signature of life pulsing away right now inside your chest. Now, if you've ever been to a doctor's office, you know the numbers 120/80. But what do they actually mean? They represent the immense physical forces occurring inside your arteries. That top number, 120 millimeters of mercury, is your systolic pressure. That is the intense peak force generated during that ventricular contraction we just talked about. The bottom number, typically around 80, is the diastolic pressure. That's the constant resting pressure that stays in the blood vessels while the heart is refilling. Understanding this delicate balance is absolutely key to understanding hypertension. That's when things like stress, poor diet, or narrowed arteries end up pushing these forces dangerously high against your vessel walls. So at the end of the day, the absolutely crucial point is maintaining the structural integrity of this entire microscopic network. Over time, things like the deposition of LDL cholesterol can build up plaque inside your coronary arteries. This physically narrows the pathway, a condition known as atherosclerosis. This narrowing restricts blood flow and can easily lead to thrombosis, which is when a blood clot forms right there inside the vessel, potentially causing a heart attack or a stroke. That's why prevention strategies like getting regular exercise, cutting down on saturated fats, and not smoking aren't just generic advice. They are the exact direct actions you have to take to keep your internal plumbing clear and elastic. Which leaves us with something to think about. Knowing the stunning microscopic precision and the immense daily workload of your cardiovascular engine, how will the lifestyle choices you make today dictate the health of the blood flowing through your veins tomorrow?